Welcome to the layer-by-layer poetic features for Psalm 8. Our goal is to reveal the distinctive beauty and power of the original text of Psalm 8 as the next best thing to knowing Hebrew yourself. Our three features are, first, from top to bottom, second, in the beginning, and third, how majestic. We'll begin with from top to bottom. Psalm 8 praises the majesty of the Lord from the heights to the depths of creation. Literally, from above the heavens all the way to the depths of the ocean. In the middle of it all, as the mediator, is humanity. The psalm opens with a discussion of the Lord's glory on or above the heavens. In verse 4, the heavens themselves are mentioned, including the moon and stars. In verse 6, humanity is less than the heavenly beings by a little, with his head being crowned next. In verses 7 to 9, all other creatures are considered under his feet. Under his feet is metaphorical for dominion, which extends to domestic animals, wild land animals, and finally the farthest extremes, both birds and the fish of the sea. Fish of the sea completes the full extent of creation. All of creation, from the heights of the heavens to the depths of the seas, is included in displaying the majesty of its creator. At the center of the psalm, and in the center of this creation, stands humankind. The marvel of the psalm is precisely that God has chosen mankind to mediate his rule. He's chosen to crown him with honor and majesty. In verse 2, it was the heavens that were granted God's majesty. When one looks into the night sky, when the moon and the stars are visible, that's not too difficult to imagine. The heavens are glorious. The sun, the moon, the stars, according to Genesis 1, were to rule over the day and the night. But in verse 6, it's humanity who's just a little less glorious and who rules over the earth. The center of the psalm is verses 5 and 6, which introduce the wonder that God has chosen mankind and then confirm the fullness of the choice. Only slightly less than heavenly beings, and crowned with honor and majesty. The poetic effect is that, just as the moon may have no light of its own, but still shines brightly because it reflects the sun, mankind may have no majesty of its own, but shines brightly because it reflects the majesty of its creator. Humanity is beneath the heavenly beings, but the animals, fish, and birds are all beneath humanity. Humanity rules over all that God made on earth, as a representative of God on earth. That's a very glorious position. We'll move now to our second poetic feature, in the beginning. Psalm 8 alludes to Genesis 1. First, weakly to verse 16, with reference to the heavens, the moon and stars, and then strongly to verse 26, with reference to mankind over the fish, birds, and animals. Psalm 8 has been called this portion of Genesis set to music as a lyrical meditation on the creation story. Verse 2 refers to God's glory over the heavens, and in verse 4 to the moon and stars. In Genesis 1, God creates the heavens, and in verse 16 creates the two great lights, the sun and the moon, as well as the stars. Verse 6 acknowledges that mankind is less than heavenly beings only by a little. This recalls Genesis 1:26, in which mankind was created in our image and in our likeness. The psalm continues that God has caused man to rule over all the creatures of the earth, just as in Genesis 1:26, which reads, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. By echoing Genesis 1 so extensively, the psalm invokes the time when God first granted dominion to his creatures, dominion over day and night for the heavenly bodies, and dominion over all the earth for mankind. We'll move now to the third poetic feature, how majestic. Psalm 8 begins and ends with identical words. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. These words are easy to appreciate without any context, but they grow richer within the context of this psalm. At the beginning of the psalm, the reader or hearer may think of any number of reasons God's name is majestic in all the earth. The power of natural forces, the beauty of landscapes, the marvels of the created order. The body of the psalm, however, directs the audience in a very specific direction. God's majesty is displayed in the heavens, but it has been climactically manifested in mankind as ruler over the earth. The created order certainly reflects God's majesty, but that's not the focus of this psalm. It's on mankind as a reflection of God's majesty, specifically as a reflection of God's majesty insofar as man has dominion over creation. Mankind participates in God's majesty and accrues majesty for God when he fulfills his mandate to rule over creation. God's choice of humanity is remarkable precisely because humanity is weak. In verse 3, humanity was depicted as nursing children, an image of the weakest and most vulnerable, even if they do have loud cries. In verse 5, the rhetorical question, what is mankind, conveys the insignificance of humanity. God's majesty grows all the more in his choice of the weak and seemingly insignificant to bring an end to the enemy and to have dominion over his creation. By the end of the psalm, the majesty of God's name has taken on a new meaning. It is not only a reflection of the beauty of the heavens. His name, as in his reputation and character and essence, is placed on his representative on earth, mankind, known to be weak. In spite of his weakness, humanity's designated task is to have dominion over all the creatures of the earth, domestic, wild, even the birds and the fish. Insofar as humanity carries this out, he manifests God's glory, made even more glorious through humanity's weakness. When the same words are repeated at the end of the psalm, it's as if it reads, O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in your image on the earth, ruling over the earth as your representative. There is now an identity between the Lord and mankind, with mankind bearing responsibility for the majesty of the Lord's name on earth. The Lord isn't interested in being majestic apart from mankind. He wants to be majestic through mankind's weakness, so humanity reflects his majesty just as the moon reflects the sun. This has been the Poetic Features video for Psalm 8, in which we explore the natively Hebrew poetic nature of the psalm. Our overview video provides a coherent interpretation of the psalm, and our exegetical issues video discusses other scholarly views. All of these videos are offered free of charge, thanks to the generosity of our donors. Please visit us at cdbr.org to learn more.